wondering, what was the spark that ignited Such a Pretty Girl and that brought Meredith to life?
I was listening to the news one night while I was making supper, and they were talking about a sexual predator that was being released and going home. And I started thinking, home? Home to who? Home where? Who stays with a pedophile, a convicted pedophile? And that started me thinking about it. What would it be like to be the daughter of a convicted pedophile? What if you were one of his victims? What would you do if he was coming home early and the law had promised you a longer sentence, some more peace, so that you could grow up and turn 18 and get out before you had to, you know, face your abuser again? And as I'm mulling all these things over, and then I'm thinking, what kind of phrase is child molester? It's such a blanket phrase. It's a safe. I mean, we hear it on the news all the time, and I think we've become immune to it. It in no way shows you the series of events. The pain and the trauma and the agony and the rage and the fear, it just doesn't convey it at all. And while I'm thinking of all these things, making supper, I heard a voice in my head that said, well, if the phrase child molester doesn't freak you out anymore, then maybe the details of what happened will. I won't mince words if you don't turn away, because I can't. And that's how Meredith was born.
Laura, how were you able to create the pedophile father, and how did that character evolve in your head?
That's a good question. I had to imagine who would do this kind of a thing, who would be selfish enough and manipulative enough to actually step over those boundaries willingly, over and over again, and believe that it was an all right thing to do, or just not even think about it, believe that it was a right. I did research on it. You know, I spoke with a lot of survivors of sexual abuse. Incest survivors. And that was, I heard a lot of stories, and I met a lot of very strong and brave women. I had to imagine a lot. I had to imagine someone who would willingly put themselves in a place where children were, become a trusted figure, someone that earned the trust of parents, you know, the kind of person that you'd think, no, that would never happen. He would never do that. It was not a pleasant place to be. It was a really dark place to be.
How about Meredith's mother? How did she develop?
Meredith's mother developed, I had to imagine what it would be like to have a daughter, but to love your husband more, to be willing to sacrifice the child to save the marriage, or to save the man. And it's not, unfortunately, as uncommon as you would hope. It's pretty common. Again, I talked to a lot of survivors of incest and sexual abuse, and sometimes they didn't tell what happened. Sometimes they did and no one believed them, or the saddest phrase I think I heard was, "You don't want to ruin our family." Really?
Laura, in Such a Pretty Girl, was Meredith the only character who led you as the story developed?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, she was. Everything that happened in there happened through Meredith's eyes. What she doesn't know, we don't know. What she sees, how she defines the people around her, that's what they are. So I saw everything through her eyes. Only Meredith's story. This is not a sweeping, you know, story for the whole world. Everybody's situation is different. So in this story, the adults gave what they could. They gave what they had to offer. Sometimes, most of the time, it wasn't enough. No one in this whole book actually saved. The law did not save her. Her parents did not save her. Her mom, her dad. The retired police officer, Nigel Balthazar, he did what he could, Paul Amuse, but nobody, no one person could do it.
How were you affected by immersing yourself in Meredith's world?
That was a hard place to be, and it was an eye-opener. I think the statistics at the point when I was doing the research were 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys, and that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of human beings that are being betrayed, abused. It's not right. So it was a big eye-opener. It was, it gave me a healthier respect, and it was really humbling, actually, to hear from all the survivors of sexual abuse after the book was written. I got a lot of mail. I still get a lot of mail on it. And usually what the gist of it is It was a really scary and thrilling read, and it gave the ending was very satisfying. Maybe that couldn't happen in real life, but it wrapped something up for a lot of the people that wrote to me. It gave them the satisfaction they couldn't have in real life.
Which is how do readers react to the characters and to the story?
Meredith is a heroine that a lot of people root for, which is really good because I rooted for her too. As I was writing her, it was a very tense and breathless book to write, and really scary. A lot of the email I got, the people shared their own stories, and that was really hard because the real stories are inevitably worse than the book. This is fiction. In real life, it gets a lot worse. All the time from people who ask if Meredith and Andy get married. So there's a lot to root for in Andy too. The other characters, Nigel, he gets a thumbs up. And Paula Muse, it's pretty across the board that Meredith's mom and dad, not good, not good.
Your upcoming book, Ordinary Beauty, features another determined young lady. Do you want to tell us a little bit about when that's coming out and if you're going to be doing any book signings?
Sure. Ordinary Beauty will be out on June 14th, and it will be in bookstores everywhere, and online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, indie stores. It is about Sarah, and her mother is an addict, and she's never really been sure her whole life that her mother loves her. She's followed her, she's stuck up for her, she's tried to be important to her, and they've had one portion of life for Sarah where her life was golden, and everything she ever wanted was there, and it was destroyed. I will be at the Hudson Children's Book Festival on May 7th, and that is in Hudson, New York, and Ordinary Beauty won't be out by then, but the rest of the books will be there. Come out and say hi. May 14, Saturday, I will be at the Millbrook, New York Book Festival. We'll be on a panel. It starts at 3:30, and then there'll be book signings and books available afterwards. In Wilkes-Barre at Barnes & Noble on June 25th for a signing, so come on out. Ordinary Beauty will be there, and so will the other books. Come out and say hi. I'd love to meet you. And then July 1, Friday, from 7 to 9 in the evening at Barnes & Noble in East Brunswick, New Jersey on Route 18. And I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone, and there might be a little party afterwards, so it would be nice if you can come out.
And anyone who's interested can visit your website for a schedule of where you'll be speaking and book signings and other interesting aspects of your books, including Ordinary Beauty, which will be released in June.